All right, welcome back. Let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to learn a few things about icons, about adding some interactivity, navigating to a new screen, and a little bit about tweaking the UI in this section. So, starting off inside of our random word state, we've got a couple of variables. Real quick, this is bugging me. I'm going to just tab this over so we're straightened out. But underneath bigger font, we're going to create a new variable called saved. Again, underscore meaning that it's private to this file or this library. And it is going to be a set of word pairs. So it looks similar to suggestions, but word pairs here is a list versus a set here, which is going to be essentially the same as a list, but everything inside of here is unique. And what this variable is going to be storing is a list of saved startup name generators, and we do want those to, our startup name, excuse me, and we want those to be unique. So that's why we're using a set here. So we have that. Then we're going to add something to our list tiles here so that we can have an icon at the end. So inside of our list tile, this keeps jumping back on me. All right, so list tile, we have text. And then after our text, we can add a comma. We'll have trailing after title. So here's our title. After that, so we have text that's wrapping with our pair as Pascal case. There we go. That's a little bit better. And then trailing. So trailing is what we can put at the end of our list tile. So trailing is going to have an icon, and then it's going to take in some logic. So our icon, we're going to check a variable that I forgot to create. So above list tile, inside of our build row, we have a new variable that we're going to call already saved. And this is going to check if our pair that's coming in is already in this word pair set. So did we save it already? So what we'll do is we'll do underscore save dot contains pair. So this contains method just checks this set to see if it contains whatever we pass in. In this case, it's the pair or the startup name. So now that we have that, our icon, we can check is already saved true. And we'll use a ternary here. So icons.favorite. And notice I get this nice little VS Code preview. So it's filled in if it's already saved. Otherwise, we'll do icons.favorite border, which is the outlined version. So if it's not saved, we'll have an outline. If it is saved, it'll be filled in. We'll do a similar check for the color. So we'll check if it's already saved. If it is, we'll make it red. Feel free to play around with the colors as you see fit. Otherwise, it's null. So it'll just be gray. So now if we reload it, nothing is happening with the already saved yet. We don't have any interactivity, so these are all going to be gray. So let's go ahead and add the ability to click on or tap on these and then update our saved set here. So what we're going to do is inside of our build row after trailing, so we have our title, we have trailing. After that, making sure we have a comma, we'll do on tap. On tap is going to take an anonymous function. And here we're going to call set state for the first time. So here we can update our state, and this might look familiar to this dot set state in React, or if you're used to using hooks. This is more similar to the class-based component kind of architecture of React, where we have a list of items in state. However, these are just set as kind of straight up variables inside of the random word state class. So we can update them directly here. And the difference is when we call set state, it's going to trigger a re-render. So you could update these variables directly without set state, but then you wouldn't see those updates on the screen. So similar to how calling set state or update using the updater in a React hook using use state, would cause a re-render. Similar idea here. So if you want the UI to update, then you're typically going to be reaching for set state. So we'll check if already saved is true, then we'll call the remove method on saved. And so what we're doing here is if that list item, if this the name in the tile is already like in the set here, then we're going to remove it. Otherwise, we're going to add it. Pretty straightforward. So now if we save this and we tap on them, now we're getting some interactivity. Pretty cool. So next, what we want to do is add the ability to tap on these and then navigate to a new screen where we only see these items that have been saved. So we're going to add a little icon to our app bar here that serves as like kind of a little navigator for us, and then we'll be able to display these list tiles. So inside of our scaffold, we have our app bar, and to again make it a little bit easier to read, splitting it onto new lines. So we have our title here, adding a comma. We're going to add an actions list. This actions list is going to take one item. Notice that it is a list, so it could take multiple children, but we're just going to use one. And we're going to use an icon button. The icon that we're going to use is going to take an icon widget. And here we can do icons.list, which will look like that. And then on pressed, we haven't created this function yet, but we will. It's going to be a function called push saved. Notice I'm getting the red underline because it's not defined yet, but we'll go ahead and define it. And what this is going to do is navigate us to a new screen, which will show us our startup names that we have saved. So let's go ahead and build that above our build row here. We can create a new method called push saved. And what we'll do here is we'll use the navigator. We'll build a route and push it to the stack, the navigator stack. So basically how the screens work is they're kind of like stacked. Think of them like stacked on top of each other, and then you kind of go to different layers based on what the navigator says. So you can think of like the screens as like a deck of cards, and when you navigate to a new screen, you're either removing or adding a card to that stack. In doing so, we'll use Material Page Routes Builder to get this all going. So what we'll do is inside of push saved, we'll use navigator .of context. So just kind of tying it into this random word state position in the widget tree, and we'll push. We're gonna push this material page route. So we'll basically push a new screen to the stack. So what this looks like, add a semicolon at the end. What this looks like is we'll use material page route. And then inside of material page route, that widget, we'll use the builder. Builder will take in context, which is build context. We are going to create a new variable called tiles, which is going to store a list. And this list, we're going to map through our saved set. I'm getting an error so far. Let's see what's going on here. Semicolon. Let's see. Okay, I'm just getting an error because that variable wasn't finished out. So tiles, we're going to map through saved. So our saved set, we can map through that. This will be looking through or it'll take a pair, which is a word pair. So this pair is the item that's being mapped over. And we're going to return a list tile. So this should look similar to our build row method here. We're doing something pretty similar where we're going to be making these list tiles that you can then see. So we will return a list tile again. And this list tile will have a title, which is going to be a text widget. So inside of our text, we have the pair as Pascal case. And then, oh, so there you go. I put a semicolon. That should have been a comma. And then our style. So our style, similar to the list builder or that build row method, is going to have the bigger font. So that we have bigger font. So we can, after this tiles. So this, again, this is just a variable that's containing, all of this is doing is containing a set of these list tiles for us. So underneath that, we'll create a new variable called divided. And we'll use the divide tiles method off of the list tile widget. And our tiles are going to be, so the tiles that the divide tiles method is taking in is going to be this set of tiles that we created with the map. And then context is context, and we need to convert this to a list. So we just call toList at the end. The last thing that we'll do inside of push saved is we will return a scaffold so that we have our breakdown on our new screen. And so the scaffold is going to have an app bar, which uses the app bar widget, and we'll have a title. We'll call it saved, and this should be a text using the text widget. We'll have text widget that says saved suggestions, and then underneath that we'll have a body, which is going to be a list view widget where the children that it takes in is this divided list. Looks like I just put this on the outside here. So underneath divided, we have our scaffold. All right. So I'm going to kind of reformat this a little bit, make it a little bit easier to read. So to recap this, because things kind of bounced around a little bit, we have our push saved method, which will push a material page route. It takes in a builder where we pass in context. We're creating basically a list of list tiles by mapping through the saved set, where we return the list tiles, we give it a title, which is the Paris Pascal case, and we give it the bigger font. From there, we create another variable called divided, which uses the divide tiles method off of the list tile widget. And in this case, it takes our tiles that we have created here and passes them into the this tiles prop, and then we also pass in context. We then convert this to a list. From there, we create a new scaffold, which gives us an app bar and a title, and then we pass in our divided list as children to that list view. So now we have our list. We've saved a few things. And if we tap on the list icon, we now have our saved suggestions. We have low port, door test, grin tail. We can also navigate back, and we have that saved state still there for us. So pretty cool. Last little thing that we'll do, and this is, you can play around with a lot of different things, but we'll just kind of dive into the basics here. So inside of our stateless widget, our My App, oh, looks like I'm looking at the wrong spot. This is up above. So we have our title, and this should actually be changed. This isn't going to affect anything on the UI, but so we have our startup name generator. So we have our title. We have our home, which is the random words. And then we can also play with the theme here in our stateless widget. This is our top level app. So we can call theme, which takes in theme data. And then here you can mess around with things like primary color, primary swatch is kind of nice too. So the difference between primary color and primary swatch is primary swatch, if you give it a color, it will then generate different shades of that color, whereas primary color, you just get the one. You've got accent color, floating action button. So a lot of really cool things. If you control space, you can, I mean, I'm just holding the down arrow and you can see this crazy list of stuff. So let's do primary swatch color, or primary swatch, and we can do colors dot green accent. Let's see what that looks like. What error am I getting here? Colors dot green. Okay. I think I was throwing an error because I was doing the green accent, which is a variation of green. So if I hit save, cool. Now I've got this nice green theme. So you can play around with that and lots of cool options for customization. So that's it. Thanks for sticking around in part 2 of this video. We learned about theming and adding icons and interactivity and navigating and lots of cool stuff. So I found that Flutter is pretty cool, and using Dart, a lot of methods like add and remove and things like that seem to make a whole lot of sense, and it reads pretty clearly. So I'm excited to continue playing around with it. If you have any questions, as always, please leave them in the comments. And other than that, thanks for sticking around, and hope you have a good one.